This is Skye, your Soulful Progressive with FNN, Feminist News Network, that feminist news that's right for you. Welcome to Skye on location in Chicago, giving you that soulful news you need every time. Yes, indeed. And if you haven't told a friend to like and subscribe and get that soulful news that soulful way, well, sugar, you better let them know I'm serving it sweet today. So, what is it I want to talk to you about today? What is going on? Nobody's talked about it. Nobody has said it. Everybody's watched it. But only a few are saying, well, I'm going to say what is needed in regards to Dr. Cornel West appearing on Jimmy Dore. Now, this happened over a week ago, but the sting from the interview still lags on. And Jimmy pandering to a right-leaning fan base that wants to see RFK Jr. and Trump in the lead does not recognize nor understand, though Jimmy went off and did what he did, and Cornel West jumped off of the interview as quick as he had, even though he held on longer than he should to hear how Jimmy wanted it his way. Now, this is totally mixed up, messed up, and wrong. And we're going to explain how that went on. Now, we're going to take a look. Because Jimmy respects Cornel West. He likes Cornel West. But he wants him to be angry in a certain way. He wants him to persuade in a certain way. He wants him to pander toward a base that Dr. Cornel West is not for, toward a base. He says he wants to help Trump voters, and Jimmy's trying to tell him to how to pander to Trump voters. But I'm going to explain this really, really quick. That's not Jimmy's place to tell him how to pander. That's what he has a team for. And him getting loud and snapping at him, talking to him like it's all right to act like you're a loose cannon around him is still wrong. Your passion is felt, but your mouth needs to heal. And I'm serious about that, Jimmy. Now, we're going to take a quick listen, and then Skye and the news crew, we're all going to discuss. And if you want to join in, don't fuss, just write your comments below. Now, let's take a listen.
This idea that Donald Trump is more of a fascist than Joe Biden undermines your own campaign. There's no doubt about that. And so what I would encourage you to stop doing that. What do you say back?
No, we deeply disagree on that. I don't think, and this is what I disagree with Nick too, that, and I appreciate your advice here, cast in a respectful way, but we do, and I disagree with Brother Nick on this too, that I just got back from Mississippi, you know that, with the Jenkins and Parkins, the two brothers brutalized by the police, there at the church, the Klan still running wild, not just with votes, but terrorizing black folk. The Goon Squad finally got caught by two lawyers, Brother Malik and Brother Trent. Now, what does that mean? That means that when you talk about fascism, you're talking not just about the rule of big money, not just the rule of big military, not just the rule of corporate power, so that it's oligarchic in essence, but you're also talking about dictatorial rule, no elections, the elimination of dissident voices, and then the scapegoating of the most vulnerable, which could be immigrants, it could be workers, it could be black people, Jews, Arabs, and so forth. See, under Biden, what you have is a fascist dimension domestically, especially against black folk and others. You and I, the very fact that we're having this dialogue without being eliminated overnight, a fascist regime could completely call into question with the use of arbitrary power. That's what happens in the mass incarceration regime vis-a-vis poor black people and others. Right? So that is the fascist dimension. Similarly, so in terms of militarism abroad. So that there's fascist elements, my brother, there's fascist dimensions. But with Trump, when you have calling into question transfer of power and so forth, that is not the same thing. And so that doesn't undermine my campaign at all. The campaign's about truth.
100% undermines your campaign. 100%. You're shooting yourself right in the dick before you even start. So that's just bad. You're getting bad advice. I don't know who's advising you, but they're giving you horrible advice.
January. I'm a free man. I'm a free man, brother. It could be a loser for you too, though.
Trying to make the argument.
No, you trying to make the case that somehow the Democrats are more fascist than the Republicans. The fascism cuts across the board.
But that's not how you say it, though. You say.
But why you keep saying advise me? I'm thinking for myself, brother. I'm a free
I don't mean to insult you. That's not
just a question of advising.
Okay.
I don't ask who's advising you. You think for yourself. You're a free man too, aren't you?
You're right. You're right. Okay. I was trying to put it in a nice way.
I use that kind of language, my brother. You want to be respectful.
I'm trying to be respectful. That was my.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
I know it look like hard sometimes, but I appreciate it. But
what is your plan to organize along class lines?
Well, I appreciate again the clarity and candor of what you have to say. We have profound disagreements, brother. When I organize around white supremacy, I'm not making some utilitarian calculation. I'm speaking as a black man who comes out of a tradition that's been terrorized and traumatized by white elites. And that does not in any way mean it takes me away from class issues. Class issues are crucial. Class issues are fundamental. But it doesn't mean that I'm putting up with white supremacy. One of the problems is that you get too many folk who want to talk class, and can't say a mumbling word about white supremacy, police brutality. Can't say a mumbling word hardly. Or when they do say it, you call it identity politics as if it's not connected to class. I'm hitting these head on. I'm standing with the workers when it comes to strikes. I'm standing with the workers when it comes to greedy bosses. I'm standing with the workers when it comes to obsession with profits and the needs not in any way being satisfied. But I'll never for a minute be silent or not raising my voice in terms of vicious treatment of black people, indigenous people, gay brothers, lesbian sisters, or trans. It's not an either or. And that's where you and I have a deep, profound disappointment. So if the talk about the dignity of black people in the face of vicious white supremacy makes me sound like a Democrat, you got the wrong earplug.
Okay.
You're not listening clearly. Because if you can't hear the critique of Wall Street, if you can't hear the critique of militarism, if you can't hear the critique of his foreign policy in Ukraine, and all you can hear when they talk about white supremacy is identity politics, then something's wrong with your earplug, though, brother. Something's wrong with it. Okay. We can have deep disagreements with that one, but
it's disappointing.
It is what it is. You are profoundly disappointing in that sense. But if I still love you, brother,
I still love you too.
That one, I've never ever said that all of the followers of Brother Trump are fascists. I said he's a neo-fascist Pied Piper. His followers, 1 out of 8 went with Bernie, 1 out of 12 went with Barack Obama. He's got a heterogeneous, diverse group. And I can speak my language of truth and justice as it connects to capitalism, imperialism, white supremacy, male supremacy, transphobia, whatever it is. And there's going to be some people who listen, and there's going to be some people who don't. But this is not just a question of political calculation and Machiavellian reflection, brother. This is about the quest for truth and justice. You got to be real. You got to be authentic. I'm not listening to consultants who tell me to use this particular kind of language with this group and this kind of language with that group. That is the essence of managerial bourgeois politics. I reject it.
I don't like Trump one bit. I oppose almost everything he says. And but he called for ending NATO, so I join him with that. And I'll join with anybody to do good and nobody to do wrong. Okay.
Same here. I'm with you at that. I'm with you on that too.
And so what they'll do to Bernie Sanders, that's exactly what they'll do to me. They'll do to anybody who is a threat to the establishment. And
Let
so,
me get a word in. Let me get a word in.
so I'm going to let you. So I just want you to. So
Absolutely.
So go ahead. Take it where you will.
I'm very glad that you're zeroing in on the struggle to shut down Cop City. I'm in deep solidarity with them. We're working together in the coming weeks, virtually and so forth. But there's a logical fallacy, a rational gap in your attempt to compare freedom fighters against a vicious system in the name of everyday folk in ghettos and hoods and working class communities against the police versus Trump. Trump, I'm not in solidarity with Trump. I want him to have a fair trial. I'm not in solidarity with Trump simply because they use the same law against courageous, visionary freedom fighters against police brutality and police murder versus the same law against a gangster like Trump. Doesn't put Trump on a spectrum with freedom fighters, brother, at all. It doesn't put him on the spectrum at all. That's the fundamental difference between you and I in this case. But the idea of you recognizing that the same weaponization against these courageous freedom fighters is somehow on a spectrum with Trump, I radically reject that. I want a fair trial, but I think he's probably done a number of things that warrants a serious fair trial with him going to jail, but we shall see.
So you're for...
No, but I must say, see, this is where you and I do in some ways live in different worlds, because as crucial and as important as the issue of vaccines and the COVID situation was, when you say that's probably the most important issue in your lifetime or in the last 25 or 30 years, in light of all the wars, in light of what Palestinians are going through, in light of what workers are going through, 63% of them are living paycheck to paycheck, in terms of all the vicious attacks of the police and the murders and so forth, and yet this vaccine issue is the most important thing. I say, okay, that's my dear brother Jimmy. He's got a right to raise his voice. I'm not going to in any way push it away, but I just live in a different world. As important as vaccines have been, if I had another chance, I'd be leaning much more with the Black caucus. But when I think of the weightiest issues, vaccines does not come immediately to mind. It just doesn't. That's the kind of world we live in, brother.
Okay.
Maybe I spend,
Well, here it is.
We shall see. But if it does win, we're going to incorporate your best and show how wrong and how off the wall you were too. But
I appreciate that.
You take good care of them,
all right,
man.
all right, bye, brother.
Yeah. This ain't right. The disrespect that was going on was massive. And you cannot tell an old black man over 70 that's set in his old ass ways, that only knows things through a certain lens, which is academic, elite, and on the margins, to go in a direction to which you do, Jimmy. And what do you do, Jimmy? You're leaning far left while you pandering to the far right, which you can do that if you like, but you know from the comments that Steph gets that they are not really for your left leaning. They're trying to appease to you because of your color, that you can be bent their way, which is total right leaning. Now, I'm not getting off into any conspiracy theories or beliefs that these people have, but to find a common cause in their beliefs amongst people that have beliefs like me, because a lot of what I believe, it may land on the right to some people, but they don't put the black perspective behind it. Jimmy doesn't put the black female perspective behind it. Sabby Sab is not the only woman that is ADOS that represents all of us, Jimmy, because some of us are even more left than her, like me, like Kim Brown, and like many others that are out there and down. And And where Kim Brown may not be down, Skye is down for the protest, and Skye is down for getting down and getting out in those streets. And you've seen videos where I have done that, and I will do it again. But my problem is how he's trying to make Jimmy lean to the side where they don't really respect him. You know, his stance on Israel is correct. His stance on unions is strong. His stance and policies on the environment is right. Now, what you want, Jimmy, is for him to say, COVID, vaccine, COVID. Look, we are beyond that. And to pick one issue where that may not stand, we still need that damn George Floyd bill passed. You didn't argue with him about that. We still, and how is it they can pass a bill to protect Asians and not pass that George Floyd bill? I'm still mad at my senator for backing a bill like that without bringing George Floyd along with it. We are still trying to do community policing and not fund the police. We are still trying to get Medicare for all, and Cornel West would be the one to force that vote. And you talk about forcing the vote all the time, Jimmy. There's your vote forcer. Get behind him, and I know you are, but you're just mad at the technique and the style. Well, you were mad at Bernie. You were mad at Bernie's technique and style also. And that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's about you, right, Jimmy? It's how you feel, how you want them to attack, how you want them to preach. And as long-winded and about jazz and in the style of Coltrane, along with Fannie Lou Hamer and even Ida B. Wells. Now mention Cornell never mentions Shirley Chisholm. Now, we can have a whole nother discussion about that later. But in the vein of those that stood in the path of segregation, discrimination, humiliation, he talks in that vein. You're not going to speed him up, slow him down, or make him dance around what he's trying to say, because he's a long-winded, long-talking man, just like I am. And I get a little more to the point than he does. But Jimmy, you took it on without understanding. You were looking for clicks, honey. You were baiting your right-leaning crew. And you know what? Did you bring on Nick and RBN so you can talk about Cornel West to them? Because if they didn't set your ass straight, I'm be the one to do it. You're wrong. And if you agree with me, leave those comments below and let me know at FeministNewsN@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and the Facebook page. And remember, I'm that Soulful Progressive. What? On Twitter, got that rant of the day on Blogger. And if you care to get a cup of coffee, that's Memo at Skye Soulful Progressive. And you must remember, during this era of hate, we all got to participate so we can stop the Cornel West hate. Because it's about the movement, dummy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for